Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we got a little bit of impact. Now I'm going to tell you this. I've always been objective, as best as possible. Everyone has some bias, and even I have had bias. But I've always tried to make sure I told you the truth. And make sure that you know that even if I got a bias, I make sure that I take that into account and try to make it as fair as possible. Now I'm going to be very clear here. You compare TNA's Impact to Dynamite. Dynamite, last night, tried to do something different. And a lot of people are very confused about if this will work. What's going on with Darby Allin, what's going on with MJF, what's going on through most of the show itself. And I will tell you this. If you're to compare TNA Impact to Dynamite at this point, you will find right now that yes, Dynamite did something different. They're really trying something different that we don't know if it's going to work or not. We just don't know. It's here. But what we just got here with TNA, just slightly above it. And understand this. I'm not saying this because I love TNA. Because I do. And I've never lied about that. The first episodes on this channel, if you go to my YouTube channel, go there and look at the oldest videos I have. Yes, I had some other stuff. I didn't do wrestling reviews at first. Like 7 videos in, I think. That's when I did any wrestling videos. And that's when I started doing only wrestling on this channel. But TNA is the first one next to WWE. Of course, there was no AEW yet. I've gone through multiple different Look, I've reviewed NWA. I've reviewed NWA. I reviewed Booker T's promotion, Reality Wrestling. I reviewed National Wrestling League. I reviewed MLW. I reviewed multiple different type of promotions. Even GCW, which I still don't really like. It just feels like it, at the time, Nick Gage was all they cared about. Now, Nick Gage is not what they care about, but have they really changed as much as many people think? That's going to still be the big question going forward, even though they do have some type of deal right now with some type of streaming service, I do believe. But I've always done TNA consistently. WWE has always been sporadic. Either I would do Raw, SmackDown, then Raw, SmackDown, then SmackDown, then TNA, then... let's make it very clear. NXT is one of the only things they have left that really means something. But I'm going to be honest here. What we just got here, I feel more confident that I enjoyed it here. Not because the stories were better. At least they were more consistent. And, let's make it very clear, you see the title. We just got a possible match of the year. Seeing Rich Swann go up against Mike Santana, I knew it was going to be a good match, but I didn't think it would be a match of the year candidate. I agreed with Tom. Tom said it very clear along with Matthew. This is a match of the year candidate. I understand. I don't say things like that, but it's one of them. Now, let's go through this show, because it's already past 3 minutes into 4, I'm sorry. Alright, Nick Nimitz going against let me give you like this. Am I feeling the system in this storyline? Honestly, I'm not against the system itself, but I am against one thing about the system that is an issue. How long are we supposed to keep it? Yes, they rebooted the system without Dango, without Moose, and now they brought in, of course, Cedric Alexander. They brought in Bear Bronson. That is a good thing they did. Because if they used the same people, rebooting again, it would be like Aces and Eights, and they stayed too long. But I'm not going to lie here. Even though it's not like it's the same thing, it is the same thing. Because the question is going to be, how long is the system going to stay relevant? Because if you compare it to what's going on with the Don Callis family in AEW and now the possibly newly formed bloodline, which more than a few people want back. But the problem here is having it back does not mean it's the wisest thing to do because they have not built anyone else. I'm questioning how long the system is going to stay around. I don't hate the system, but it's about how long are they going to stay relevant. Because yes, the system looks good. And it doesn't look like they're going to go to NXT much. Because if they start doing NXT things again and start making them look bad, it's going to hurt the system and it's not going to be good for TNA. So far, we haven't gotten any of that. But the big question here is this. How long will they last? And when they must finally be disbanded? That's always the big question with factions. And we're going to find out sooner or later. I'm just kind of worried that it might be much more sooner than you think. And I'm hoping I'm wrong. So we get Nick Nimitz against Bear Bronson. It's a good match. Casey Navarro comes out helping out Nick. And pretty much Ryan Nimitz is a jealous little bitch. He's jealous because he thinks he's got a competition from a guy who's just being called a brother because, like a friend, and he thinks that he's going to be replaced. Really? I know this is going to come to a head when Casey is going to go up against Ryan in a match, which you're going to have Nick having to eventually choose between the two. I think that's going to happen. I think that's what's coming down to it. But the question's going to be, will they go there? I do believe they will. Nick won the match. Bear Bronson's pissed off. But now this is setting up for the tag team division to have another run with the Nimitz versus now Bear Bronson and Brian Myers. Now, of course, we did get a little bit of a talk with Cedric Alexander. But I'm going to be honest here. This is one of the problems we have with the X Division. We got Cedric. Yeah. We got BDE. Yeah. We got Leon Slater. Yeah. Is that all? Is that all we have for the X Division? Shouldn't we have a little bit more? I'm like, the only other person I could think of that would be good to go in the X Division would be Nick Nimitz. Nick trying to become X Division champion. But we only got like 4 people that are really in the division itself. Now, you could say Rick Swann. Now, at this point, Rich is going to be in the main event. And he should be in the main event because of what happened right now in this match. Because they need more people in the main event scene. And the big question is going to be what stories are going to give a Rich Swann. I'll come to that in a minute, but you get my point. Next, Dutch versus Matt. Now, Vincent and Jeff were supposed to be barred at ringside. We did not get that because, oh my gosh. Before, and I'm going to say this right now, of course, Dutch won due to Vincent getting under the ring and faking that he was supposed to be in the back with Jeff, but he wasn't. We're going to put that aside. You know what happened to Matt. Matt decided he wanted to do an elbow onto Dutch, onto a table that was already set up ahead of time before the match even started, before they even came out. But the way Matt landed on that, you're going to see images. I'm throwing them in my face. You see Matt, I do believe I got a shot at Matt. He's on the circuit. You see, I don't know if he broke his ribs. I'm hoping he's okay. But Matt got in the second turn rope on the outside, right on the turn post. He decides to do the elbow. You see it right now in my face. He literally is flying in the air, but even I could see as he's in the air, he wasn't going far enough out. He didn't jump far enough out to be able to land squarely on top of the table, on top of Dutch. He actually landed very, very outside of where the table is, and you see the image of that landing. Oh, that's ugly. I even got a shot of the bruise. It is a big bruise that's going to turn black and blue tonight, or whenever they recorded. I think it was last week they recorded it. It is a black and blue. It's red there. You see the shot, but it's black. It's going to be black and blue. Hopefully he didn't break his ribs. He's going to have to get checked because that was a bad landing. I mean, the landing was so bad. It broke the legs of the table, but it didn't break the table. The table landed on its side. The legs broke. The table didn't break. In fact, Matt managed to get up. He reset up the table, grabbed Dutch, and then suplexed them onto the table while they were on the floor. Oh, it was so bad. That was not good. And when Jeff came out to try and help him when Vincent messed up the match, when Jeff looked at Matt's side because he saw the landing, he looked under his shirt and saw the big bruise that's developing there. It was ugly, man. Bad. Bad. Let's move on to the next match. Elena Black versus Katie. Oh, man. I can't believe that we have an Arquette on TV. I believe her name is Katie Arquette, the cousin of David Arquette of WCW days. It looks like she bought a little ticket. That ticket said, addicted to wrestling. She's now a wrestler. She got her butt kicked. She hadn't been on TV for a while in TNA or Impact Wrestling. Probably she showed up in Impact Wrestling at one point. But she's back. And she did a good job in the match. It wasn't bad. But she got a butt kicked because they got to put over Elena Black. Let's make this clear. Am I a fan of Elena Black? I'm going to say no, but it doesn't mean I don't think she could improve. I'm going to make it clear. I never hated Elena Black. I never did. When she was in NXT, I didn't. But at this point, using most of the original stick that she was using when she was Cora Jade, I was hoping for a little bit more of a progression of her character and progression of how she acts in the ring. She is working the same style as she did when she was in NXT. She wasn't a bad wrestler. I'm making it clear. She's not a bad wrestler. She isn't. But you expect that she would try to change up her style a little bit and change up some of the character that she's developed. And not really. She's still acting the same way. She was acting like that in NXT. She was acting like that when she went over to TNA to do a couple of matches. For what I understand, she still did the same thing on the indies, and she's doing it here when she's finally become a full member of TNA. I'm not saying she can't improve. That is someone who cares about people developing themselves. When they've been removed from WWE, a lot of times they really don't always have the self-confidence and they feel like they screwed up or they just weren't never good. Or, and Elena Black thinks that she's perfectly fine as she is and doesn't need to improve at all. And at this point, I don't know which one it is. Is it that she thinks she's good enough now that she doesn't need to improve anything until they give her a character? Or she's going to stay the same way even if they do give her a character, more than what she already has, developed either on NXT TV, the indies, or what they already let her do with Mara Sage. I don't know. And speaking of Mara Sage, we get the crew of Tessa talking about what happened in Undead Realm. You see Victoria Crawford saying, it was fun. I had fun with some people there. We had a little bit of a party. Victoria is just a bit of a nut. She wrote that. I'm sure she did. I'm sure she wrote that because Victoria Crawford in real life, from what I understand, is very goofy. If you know Paige, Saraya, who was her best friend, she made it very clear that she was a goofy woman, but she loved her to death. But due to the fact of all the drugs and drinking that Saraya was doing, along with the drinking of Victoria Crawford, she couldn't stay a friend. I think that's the reason why they had to split up the way they are, but I'm hoping that they became friends again now that they both cleaned themselves up. Let's hope. But now they're going to go after the three women, which is Mara Sage, Rosemary, and the returning Allie. With the big... Look, I'm not going to say that her tits aren't big. They are big. I don't know if they've grown a little bit from all that vegan food she ate. And me not really talking that much. I'm mostly a vegetarian now. I don't eat meat much. The question's going to be for me, and it's not just because she's sexy, she has great tits, and she's beautiful. It's what has she carried over with herself from AEW. Let's make this very clear. She was working AEW more a few years with Butcher and Blade. The question I have right now is, what is she going to do differently? Is she just picking up the same Allie character? Is she going to mix that a little bit with the bunny that was developed in AEW? Is she going to do something entirely different? That is the big question I have. As a wrestler, she was always a decently good wrestler until she got hurt or she just didn't care anymore. And then we didn't see much of her on AEW TV or TNA at that matter at one point because it looked like she just felt frustrated in Impact Wrestling. And then she started getting frustrated in AEW because of the way I remember her wrestling. Now she's back in TNA. The question's going to be, is she going to be different? Is her style going to be completely different? Is her character going to be completely different? Is it going to be a blend of old Impact and AEW? That's the big question. That's what I'm waiting for. Next, EC3. The 1%er on the road to the top. I think the 1% road to the championship or the champ. I don't know the best. You guys tell me what you think would be very good. Would it be the 1%er on the road to the top? The 1% of the road? I don't know. Was... Let me give it to you like this. Did I think his promo was good? It was alright. In the back, it wasn't bad. He made it very clear with that chair around his neck that he closed in. Boom. Said, you want to think I'm done? Good. I want to prove to everyone in you, as the 1%er, I want to struggle. I want to destroy you. I want to prove going through everyone and going right back to the top that is not a fluke because of my aunt. I kicked everyone's ass because I was that damn good. That's generally what he was saying. I didn't mind it. I didn't. Let's make it very clear. EC3 was never a bad promo at all when he was in Impact or TNA. Well, he was from TNA going somewhere to Impact, then he was gone and now he's back to TNA. He was always a very good talker. And when he was in WWE, he was a great talker until Vince broke his spirit. Because if you remember correctly, when he first appeared on the main roster, EC3, yeah. And he went, EC3. Yep, that's what he did. He was just broken. He was destroyed. So seeing him as he is, back in TNA, I'm actually enjoying it. Now, it's going to count on how they book him. Now, let's get to the Frankie Kazarian, well, I should say, Elijah concert, which was Frankie Kazarian dressed as Elijah with a beard that looked like it would make you itch. And he was about to sing. Now, what was it called? I'm trying to remember. It was called, Frankie is your daddy. Yes, it isn't that great, but still. And I would have liked to hear him sing it. I'm not going to lie. I really did want to hear him sing it. I wanted to hear him somehow make, and he can't sing, make Frankie is your daddy funny for the fans before Elijah came in and did something to him, but he didn't get that chance. The light went out. Elijah wrapped that guitar strap around his neck, choked him out, and he got the Syracuse crowd singing Syracuse Knows and Frankie Blows. It's okay. I was going to laugh more at Frankie as your daddy, and I wanted to see him sing it. I don't know how he would sing it, but I wanted to hear it. Then Frankie Blows and Syracuse Knows. It's reverse, but I like to do that because I'm dyslexic and I do things backwards. Anyway, next, I got to say this. This was, almost forgot. Not yet. Not Zaya and not Ling Yang Ling. The summit, the international summit for Ali's Open Challenge. Now, let's make this clear. I don't like open challenges all the time. I hate them. I despise them. WWE has done it by nauseum. Now, yes, John Cena did it, but he was able to put people over. But now, Everyone's doing open challenge when it comes to the minor titles. I hate it. AEW does it ad nauseum. But here, this is different. I would love Mustafa Ali to do this every time. He was in a crowd with the Order 4. And you got the TV flipping through the different countries that could be represented for the one he's going up against. And he goes flipping through it. And the one he goes across is an Aussie in Australia. And I believe his name was Adam, what was the guy? Adam Brooks. I think I've seen him a couple of times. It's been a while. But Adam Brooks was the one who comes out, says, I'm glad to be doing this. We shake hands. And next week they'll have the open challenge. I'm going to tell you this. Instead of doing it the way they've always done it, like in WWE, AEW, I've hated it. I despised it. This is bullshit. I'm going to be honest here. This was fun. This actually was fun. Because it's not him going out to the ring and waiting for someone. He's literally picking the person, let's be honest. It's random because he's making it random. It's his choice to do it. And they're going through it, but we're getting some type of story with it because we know Ali has the biggest freaking ego on the planet. And he wants to show off. And he's making sure anyone in those crowds can be picked. And he'll go through them. And maybe we'll get some people getting back. We'll get some people. I don't know who's going to be next. I'm hoping that some of the people we haven't seen in Impact Wrestling for a while or TNA shows up from the different countries. I wouldn't mind seeing it. And I want to see them keep doing it like this. This, I think I got a shot of it. It's in my face with Adam Brooks. This was something I really enjoyed. Legitimately. I really enjoyed this. I know I hate open challenges or eliminator matches. I despise them. I don't like them. But they structured this differently. They put something with it. So it was okay. Now, two more things left to talk about. Ling Yang Lee and Xia Brookside, their segment. I'm going to tell you this. This was the best segment I've seen in a long time. It was. Was Ling Yang Lee overacting a little bit? Yes, a little bit. But there was real emotion. You saw her legitimately crying. So it's good to see. Yes, she might have gone a little bit too far with the crying and getting upset because, as you guys know, Ling Yang Lee is originally from China. She came to America. She didn't know English. She learned it when she was here. She learned English. So English is not her first language. So whenever she gets legitimately upset in real life, she begins to botch her words in her English because she's trying to translate it while she's being emotional. And I'm telling you this. When she did what she was doing in the ring with Xia, who came out all in black, I got a shot of her in black. I knew it was happening. And a shot now of both of them in the ring. And Ling Yang Lee about to hug her. I think I got that shot. It was a good segment. Seeing Ling Yang Lee in tears, legitimate tears. You see real tears running from her eyes. She was not crying before she came out. Like you know how some people would put Vaseline on their eyes. She was not doing that. She was legitimately crying. So she was tapping into real emotion. Remember, the Xia Li back in WWE left everything she knew behind and was willing to move to America. That can be a lot to take, technically. Take a lot to take if you're not used to it. So she must have tapped into some part of emotion to make it look good. I was near the end. I wasn't going to cut it. No, I didn't want it to cut off while it was in mid-sentence. Let me give it you like this. Xia talking about that you put on that phone my dad, who's never supported me, which we know he has, pissed me off. You tried to set me up, and Ling Yang Lee cried her eyes out, saying that was not my intention. I'm sorry. I love you. I just wanted to give you inspiration. I want to do everything I could to help you. And then Zaya, who I'm not going to say can't really do a promo very well, because she does it well when she has a moment. Here, I think she was trying too hard to be sympathetic, to make up for it, because when she first started and started talking about what happened with her dad, that was working. When she tried to make up, saying, I'm sorry, I got stacks in my ear, my dad never was there for me, I wanted to get validated because of the title, it felt like she was not really in the emotion, not in the moment. She tried, but she didn't feel like she was in the moment. It was like she was overacting. But when she said, I accept your apology, I'm sorry, I apologize, and then when you see Ling Yang Li literally still crying, in real life crying, it wasn't fake. That was real tears, guys. She was really crying. Whatever emotion she was tapping into to make that segment, it was real. She was hugging her, and you could hear her say, I love you. You see that moment of Zaya, and it's in my face, looking at the screen, just like John Cena was looking at the screen when it came to Cody, turned, kicked her ass, and left her with a nasty DDT to her head. Perfect. It was not the most greatest moment in wrestling history, but for TNA, for the women, we haven't seen something that good in a long time, where there was real emotion, not something that looked fake. So Zaya, whatever emotion she tapped into to legitimately cry, she did good. I give her that, and I'm glad it happened. Final, and this won't take long. The final match. The match, I believe, is a candidate for this year of one of the best matches you can see. Rich Swann versus a Mike Santana. This match was a damn good match. They never really wrestled each other in TNA or Impact Wrestling. Never did. Now, I don't know if they've done it on the indies. Maybe they have. I'm sure they probably met at least once or twice. But if they haven't, in the indies, and this was legitimately the first time, they did such a damn good job. I'm telling you right now, before this match, here you go. When I was doing my retro wrestling reviews, one of the first matches I did was a match that happened 2 years before on TNA, or a year or two before on TNA, when you had two Catch Can wrestlers in a Charlie Dempsey and a Jonathan Gresham. That was pure wrestling that you don't see anymore. It was so good that people were saying boring until near the end, when it was so good that they were cheering their brains out. And here, they were mostly cheering okay. And the strategy, and yes, it was a lot of high flying. It was a lot of moving around like normal, because both of them are kind of like high flying wrestlers. Santana, you could say, easily was a high flying wrestler at one point when he was LAX. And Rich has been a high flying wrestler from the beginning. But now, gotta say this, Rich, if he keeps working in TNA and stays around Santana, I hope, this is for me, as someone who grew up in a house with alcoholism, I'm lucky I never caught the bug of alcohol or drugs. I'm very lucky. I don't smoke, I don't drink. I'm kind of think it's due to the fact I lived in such a bad household with smoking, drinking, drugging. At one point as a little kid, I was taken to a bar from 5 or 6 years old until almost 12 by my mother, because she always wanted me to be with her all the time. And understand, at the age of 12, being dyslexic and being a bit slow because of child abuse, I'm not going to lie about it, I was always with my mom. But I never got into that. But when it comes to Santana and when it comes to Rich, I really hope from this moment, if they already haven't been doing AA meetings, if they haven't already been working together, like traveling together, and they're watching out for each other, I'm hoping them and whoever else is with them who doesn't drink will be able to keep them both on a straight and narrow if they get frustrated. That both of them could say, I gotta go to a meeting. Come with me. And the other one's gonna go with them. That's what I hope. They don't both fall into it, but at least they might cover one another with their own sponsors. But this match was a damn good match. Easily quality that you can love and you could say, I'm going to watch that again. All the other matches, okay. But this is the match I'm going to watch. Hell, some people I know, if they put this on YouTube, there's going to be people that's going to download this sucker. Because it's that good of a match. For me personally, I'll probably download it when it goes on YouTube. But closing of the show, we got a lot of content. A lot of it good. A lot of it still a question. But I'm not going to say that I didn't enjoy the show. It was good. And after what we got yesterday, where it's up in the air, we don't know what are they actually doing and will it work. And when it comes to WWE and Raw, knowing the Bloodline is back together, I never hated the Bloodline storyline. But I've always stated it. And I'm going to state it again. That's all they had. Next, understand this. Next to Judgment Day, the Bloodline was all that they had booked. Everyone below them was not developed. No very strong storylines were kept longer than a few days to a week. They were not booking for long-term booking of the other wrestlers. Because if anything ever happened, when both these factions finally fell away, you can easily slot someone or someones in their place. And we didn't get that. That's the major issue for me personally. The Bloodline storyline, they may have just restarted it all over again with the Usos and Roman. And yes, we are getting Jacob Fatu. He's going to go for that title. But what else? Who else is important on those shows? Tell me, who feels important enough to actually go up against Roman? Do you think Ilya Dragunov has been built enough to go up against Roman? You think Carmelo Hayes has been built up to go up against Roman? No. Carmelo has been on the roster longer than Ubafemi, which it's already been rumored that Roman's ready to put him over, and Trick Williams. But the problem here is this. If they shoot Ubafemi to the top, and I'm not saying he'll win it, will they book him well enough to stay at the top? Because a lot of times they don't. Seeing this frustrates me. Because no one is seeing it. They see the Bloodline back and they're saying, oh, we're getting some good TV again. But that's all they got. Now I see TNA. And I'm not saying their stories are great, but they're consistent. And they do lead somewhere. And, let's be honest, even though the roster's smaller, they have certain layers of stuff. Hell, look at this. Mr. Elegance is going to get a match next week because they asked for it. Even though he's not going to be great because they got to book him in a way that makes him comedic, it's still something. But it's just me. Peace.